to power up. Power up.
Autobots, roll out.
Broadcasting live from the DCR studio.
Oh, yeah!
The Geek Revolution starts here.
Excellent!
Get ready for the #1 hit geek radio show out there.
Well, it is impressive, isn't it?
Because it's time for Dungeon Crawlers Radio. Let's get ready to rumble!
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Alright everyone, welcome to another episode of Dungeon Crawlers, where we have the wonderful esteemed guest of RA Salvatore. If you haven't heard of him before, I don't know why. Dark Elf series, Dritz, Demon Wars, Sword of Bedwar. There's so many books out there. So thanks for taking some time out of your day to come on the show to talk about your new books.
Always good to be here.
So there's two books I want to talk about. The first being Child of a Mad God, which is out there available now, and then a little bit later we'll talk about Timeless. But let's start with Child of a Mad God. So, what is the book about? This is actually several questions. Sorry.
Break that down.
Yeah, we'll break it down. It is in the world of Corona, so the Demon Wars series.
Yep.
Where in the timeline does this fit with the, we have Highwayman and Demon Wars, and where in the world? Because, we have Hans the Bear, depending on the timeline, is this another realm, or is it somewhere in Hans the Bear?
It's not in Hans the Bear. Hans the Bear is a kingdom.
Okay.
Not a continent.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, basically, you've got the Highwayman series takes place about 100 years after the founding of the church.
Okay.
We're hundreds of years later when Demon Wars starts, with the Demon Awakens.
Yeah.
That's a 7-book series. The Coven starts alongside the last part of Immortalis, which is the last book in the Demon Wars series.
Yeah.
It takes place in an entirely different part of the world, far west
Okay.
of where all the events of Demon Wars takes place. There are people from Hans the Bear in the book. It's the same continent.
Okay.
But it's not part of the kingdom. It's beyond the Wilderlands.
Okay. So, it's picking up towards the end and after. Now, the question comes to mind. Is it, because it is kind of a different portion of the continent, and I know the magic system here is unique because of the gemstones, do they still use gemstones, or is it a different type of magic? Because I know there's
gemstones, but they use them differently.
Oh, okay. Differently,
And,
completely.
Yeah, I don't want to get into too much detail and spoil it, but the mechanics of the system, if you will, are the same.
Okay.
But the associations they make with it, the way they use them, how they get them, it's all very different.
Okay.
It's a different part of the same thing.
Nice.
If somebody asked me right now, which book should I read in Demon Wars, I haven't read any, I'd tell them start with Child of Mad God.
Okay.
Because I think they'll love it. And you don't have to have read anything before.
Nice. So it's a separate storyline, and if you read the other stuff,
Right.
that just adds more flavor.
Yeah, a little bit. And it may wind back to tie in. In fact, it will wind back and tie in with some of the other books eventually. But again, you won't have to have read them.
Okay.
I'm hoping you'll read this and you'll want to read them. But, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. No, I like that. Now, the main character is a witch.
Yes, she is.
Reading the previous stories in that, we've had monks, we've had rangers, we've had elves, demons. Now we have a witch.
What's the title?
Yeah. Why?
As with the monks in Hans the Bear who used the gemstones, calling it the voice of God.
Yeah.
The tribe, the Uskar tribe, who have this available gemstones to use that gives them a huge advantage over their neighbors. consider the magic of the gemstones godly.
Okay.
And the Coven, the name of the series is the Coven, are the 13 witches who use those gemstones the most. They are the kind of holy in the Uskar eyes, demonic in the eyes of the Uskar neighbors, power wielders of the magic.
Okay. Nice.
Which they attribute to their god Uskar.
Okay. So where did the idea for this story come from? Because it is a little different than what we've already seen in Corona.
Several different places.
Okay.
One was a physical place. I went on a vacation with my daughter and my son-in-law and my wife, and we went to this place, and I looked down from this mountain and saw this scene before me and said, I wonder what it would be like. And that's usually how things start.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea for the lake and the tribes and the mountain tribe and how they would survive and the whole thing. And then the inspiration for the main character, Alan, is actually from the show The Tudors.
Okay.
And the portrayal of Anne Boleyn by Natalie Dormer. Excuse me, man. I got to get rid of that dog.
Yeah, you're fine.
My daughter moved home with her French bulldog. My 3 Japanese chins do not know what to make of this thing.
Yeah, it's okay. My blue heeler barks like nonstop. It's like she sees a bird and then she'll bark and bark and bark and then won't stop. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, he's out. The door's closed behind him.
Yeah. So Natalie.
Natalie Dormer.
Dormer,
Played
yeah.
Anne Boleyn in The Tudors, and I love the portrayal. And Anne Boleyn's one of my favorite characters in history, and that's where I got the idea for the personality of Alan.
Nice.
And these things always come from a myriad of places, you know, the inspiration I see, the music I hear, the people I meet, whatever. But I think it was the physical beauty of the place I was at, and then just it all started taking shape. And when I have new books I want to write, instead of creating a new world, if I'm writing basically high fantasy books,
Yeah.
standard high fantasy books, why would I create a new world? I've got one.
Yeah.
It's got everything I want in it, and I love it. So I just go back to Demon Wars.
Nice. No, it's a great setting, and you know, like traveling here around Utah, there's tons of amazing places you look, and it's like, wow, that would be amazing to put in a book, or looks alien, especially down in southern Utah with Goblin Valley and stuff like that. So I could see how going on a hike and looking into a valley would stimulate that creative process.
Yep, and if I told you where it was, you'd know the place, although it's not in Utah, but I won't tell you.
That's fine.
See if you figure it out.
All right. Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. The name of the lake means big lake.
Okay. I think
In the book and in where I was.
Okay. There we go. So for those of you that want to try to find this out, there's a hint. Now, because you brought that up, with Corona being that world that you made, is it more enjoyable to write in that world of your creation, unlike playing in Forgotten Realms in Ed's sandbox?
The process is the same.
Okay.
For the stories, the characters, and all of that. However, there's 2 big differences. When I write in Ed's sandbox, I'm writing with characters I've known for 30 years.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little different experience. It's almost like visiting old friends as opposed to trying to make new ones.
Yeah.
But when I write in Corona, if I want to blow up a city, I can blow up a city. I'm not limited by what's going on by other licensees or by the company.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. And that freedom is fun because I do some pretty dramatic things in the Corona books. I always have and I always will. I mean, the Highwayman series was a pretty dramatic shift from the 4 books. From the beginning of the Highwayman to the end of the Bear, that world is very different.
Yes.
And it's true of Demon Wars, both trilogies with the bridge book Mortalis, all 7 of those books. If you go back and look at the world when Demon Awakens started and look at the world at the end, there's a lot of the same issues and a lot of the same problems, but it's a very different world.
Yeah.
With a very different understanding of things.
Yeah, I mean,
And I can make bigger societal and geographical leaps in my own world than I can in the realms.
yeah. So, I mean, with the realms, you have to kind of, you know, like you said, if you want to make a change, you have to go do the fact check and see if it's okay and stuff like that, right?
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't even think to make, like, I would never burn down Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Unless they told me burn down Waterdeep.
Okay.
I mean, I was really happy when I wrote Gauntlegrim because they were coming out with a new Neverwinter game, and they said, "Hey, can you destroy Neverwinter for us?" I said, "Destroy it?" They go, "Yeah, can you?" I said, "Oh, good. I got a volcano I'd like to use." "Yep, okay,
Yeah.
I can do it."
And wipe it out.
But they have to come to me for that. I would never go to Wizards and say, you know, I want to destroy Waterdeep.
Yeah.
First of all, it'd be disrespectful to Ed. It's his world.
Yeah.
And second of all, they'd laugh at me and tell me, "Don't you dare."
But hey, in Corona, you could wipe out an entire nation or whatever. Yeah.
I have, and I will again.
Yes. So, with your main character, since you mentioned she's your favorite, do we see a dramatic story arc with her as the book ends leading into the second one? Because this is a trilogy, or is it more of a subtle character build or arc for her?
I would liken it to Drizzt and Homeland.
Okay. That's a pretty big one.
It's someone growing up under the weight of traditions that to that person, traditions which to that person seem wrong.
Okay.
Having the guts to stand against them.
No.
Yeah, I would liken it to Homeland. In fact, I don't want to say Homeland was my template for it, but I was trying to accomplish a very similar thing with different problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice that. I did notice that it's kind of a more, I wouldn't say evil society, but definitely more on the darker side. And she is kind of like Drizzt, where it's like questioning that and trying to rise above.
And I think another inspiration for this whole journey on the Coven was the Vikings, the show.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
I mean, I'm watching a show and I'm rooting for people who are murderers and rapists.
Yep.
How'd that happen?
Great writing.
But everyone watching the show will say, "Oh yeah, you're right." You like Ragnar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he's a dirtbag.
I agree.
But you excuse it because that's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't excuse it because it's a cultural thing. And it gets very complicated inside each person when they try to sort things like that out. But every now and then somebody comes along and just cuts right through the bull and says, "No. What are you talking about? He's a dirtbag."
Yeah.
And so I think Vikings had an effect on this too, which is why it's kind of funny to me how people have been like, "This book is too brutal. I can't read it. I'm going to go watch Vikings." You know what I mean?
You're watching the same thing. So, because there are heavier themes in this book, I mean, how did you go about doing that without, like, going overboard? I mean, you kind of seem to have this delicate balance of where it's not too much, but it's enough to get your point across.
Yeah, it's always tough to figure out where you want to draw the curtain, because if you draw the curtain too soon, you're not telling the reader how bad it really is.
Yeah.
But if you draw the curtain too late, you're kind of reveling in stuff that really is just foul.
Yeah.
You're talking about this kind of activity. So I don't know. It's just instinctual, and it's like, how much do I want? I don't want to be prurient about it, but at the same time, I don't want to be too vague.
Yeah.
So it's funny to me because I wrote this book before the whole change that we've now going through in America.
Yeah.
With Me Too and all that. And some of the reaction to it has been very informative to me. Okay. It's also, sometimes it's like, no, that's not the truth, but whatever.
Yeah.
where you're coming from. Because there really, a lot of the stuff that goes on in this book that now would have a spotlight on it is some of the same stuff that I was writing in the 90s. In The Demon Awakens.
Yeah.
When Pony gets married, for example. Not only that, but I don't think that I think a lot of people today, this isn't meant as an insult, but I think a lot of people today really do not get the context of history. They really do not get how different the world was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
What it is now.
Well, no, it definitely is. I mean, just even going back 100 years, I mean, you can see how vastly different we are now
100
than
years.
from there. Yeah.
Go back 9 years and watch a movie called The Ugly Truth with Katherine Heigl.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay, so what's his name? Who's the guy in that? I keep forgetting his name.
Oh man.
Is it Gerard Butler?
I think Gerard Butler. Hold on.
Butler.
Yeah,
Gerard
it's Butler.
Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah. He slaps her ass at work.
Mm-hmm.
He's a complete pig.
Yeah.
And he gets the girl.
Yeah.
Trying to make that movie now. And that movie, by the way, was written and directed by women.
Huh. I didn't know
The world was different.
Yeah.
The world was different. Go back and watch some old Friends episodes and cringe.
Yeah. No, it definitely has. I mean, you can just TV shows or even movies, you definitely see the
By
difference.
the way, it's a good thing that the world is different.
Yes.
It's a good thing we're growing up. I was reading this thing. Some I forget, magazine, website, whatever, was doing this big thing about racism in fantasy. And they gave me a little bit of credit, kind of a left-handed compliment, and said at least I was talking about this stuff. You know, I've gotten better over the years on it. And what I really want them to understand is when I first started writing the Dark Elf books, at that time, by the way, they were called Black Elves.
Yeah.
Up at TSR, not Dark Elves. When I started writing those books, who else was talking about it? There were a few authors, but very, very few.
Yeah.
Especially in the genre. So you have to understand that this awakening is an evolutionary process, a societal evolutionary process. It's not, I was born this year, ergo I am better. It's a process that is handed down generation to generation to generation. I mean, for crying out loud, gay marriage wasn't even legal anywhere in this country until 2005.
Yeah.
When the Massachusetts Supreme Court, True Blue Massachusetts Supreme Court said you can't discriminate. And in Massachusetts at that time, more than 70% of the people of Massachusetts were against that ruling. And people immediately started signing up for state government. I mean, for signing up, yeah, people jumped in the races for state government on the platform of rewriting Massachusetts Constitution to make gay marriage illegal. In Massachusetts.
Huh.
That was 2005.
Yeah.
So the pace at which we've come forward, if you will, is really staggering when you think about it.
Yeah. It is.
And I think in the last year, the whole change with the probably 35 centuries over to Me Too movement has been amazing.
Yeah.
To watch. Just as a cultural societal observer, which is what I am, which is what a writer is, it's been amazing to watch these last few years.
Yeah. I'm sure
I'm
even
not saying good or bad. It's been amazing.
yeah. I'm sure even sociologists are just like sitting and watching and fascinating over all the changes, which I think even writers are to an extent are sociologists. I mean, we're people watchers and culture.
It's exactly.
Yeah. So, and it is amazing, and as you've said, I mean, things have slowly changed and improved, but even we see that in writing, and we're seeing that constantly. Sometimes we've seen it decades or years ago, and it's just now catching up. Society is, I guess.
And I think that's one of the reasons why you have to have those old TV shows, those old movies, those old books.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to look back and get the context of the times.
Yeah.
you can't just look back at what somebody said or did in 1985. You have to look at the context around that action.
Yeah.
And it was just a very different world.
Yeah.
A very different world.
Yeah, I mean, even going back and watching like old black and white movies or movies from the 50s and that, you know, the woman is the damsel in distress and the guy is the hero, and, you know, if she starts freaking out, he just smacks her right across the face and says, nope, straighten up. And,
Oh, yeah.
That would
yeah.
never fly now. In any way.
It should have flown then.
Yeah.
Never would. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. So when I wrote this book, and it's been out there, and it's been a wonderful process for me, watching the reactions to it. Sometimes it's painful, but always wonderful. Watching the reactions to it, seeing the relevance of the book, because Alan isn't just a female lead. Alan kicks ass.
Yeah.
And takes no prisoners. She's not a damsel in distress, certainly.
Yeah.
Nor is she a chick in chainmail.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of the things I have to say has been really great about your female characters. I mean, even Caddy Bree was a very strong character. At first, it seemed like she was maybe timid and weak, but as the books came out, she became a very strong character, so much that, I mean, she was kind of Dritz's anchor in some ways.
Yeah, but see, I wouldn't call her timid and weak. I think what you saw in the early books with Caddy Bree, quite honestly, being brutally honest here, is I didn't know who she was.
Okay.
She wasn't in the original draft of the Crystal Shard.
Oh.
And my editor, who was a woman named Mary Kirchhoff, yelled at me because there were no really named female characters of any consequence in the book.
Okay.
But that was me. That was my upbringing. It's a frontier town. It's brave men, right? That was my upbringing. So I thank Mary and so many other women in my life, my wife, my daughter, my sisters, I have 5 older sisters, for kind of retraining me to see my own blind spot. Yeah. And it was a huge one. It was so big there was no named woman in the book. None of there were 4 people that were the main heroes in the book, and the villains were all either demons or, goblins or Dritz, Bruna, Regis, and Wolfgar.
Yeah.
And the only woman in the book was Guinevere. Okay, the pink.
Yeah.
And Mary set me straight on that, and I learned a lot. And so you see, if you look at the evolution of Caddy Bree, which you're also looking at as the evolution of the writer understanding this character who got put in the book in a fast rewrite.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's interesting, but at the same time, your inexperience came into play. Your editor said, hey, we need to put this character in, and then that character became something powerful.
Yep. And then you have Pony in Demon Wars, Jill Seppen.
Yeah.
Love her.
Amazing character. I really love that character as well. So, so this is a 3-book series.
Yep.
So there'll be 2 more after this, maybe more, depending on what you decide.
There'll be more in the world. I'm sure there'll be more in the world. I don't know if it'll be with these characters or if it'll be at different times. The beauty of having that world is, like, I wrote the Demon Wars books, then I went back, 8 centuries or whatever, and did the Highwayman books.
Yeah.
So I can jump all over and tell stories in this world. And it's like writing about our world, except I have certain, I have magic, I have gemstones, and there are other entities that aren't human.
Yeah.
That are available. So, maybe my next trilogy will be about Poweries on the Weathered Isles or something.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe I'll see something that will inspire me to go in that direction.
Yeah. I would like to see more about the Bloody Cabs. There seems to be some history there.
Or maybe I'll tell the story of the Tool Alpha and the Doc Alpha. I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is, I have the freedom to do that. One of the other things was a condition for my last few contracts with Wizards. In fact, probably most of the Dritz books was that they want to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Because
they're moving forward with all their other projects. So meanwhile, I've got stories I wanted to tell, like Jal Axel and Zachnafane.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell that story, but I couldn't because they wanted to go forward. Now I'm getting a little more freedom to do that. But in Demon Wars, I can do whatever I want. I can go wherever I want. I can make up new characters. I can change the history of the world. I can change the future of the world.
Yeah.
And So it's basically, it's like writing fictional stories set in our world, but we have magic and we have elves and we have dwarves and we have fun things.
Nice. So, since you brought up Zactophain and Jarlaxle on that, with Timeless, it's coming out in September. We're
Yeah.
getting that story, right?
You're getting a good part of it, yeah. Timeless, what I did is I knew that I had two jobs in Timeless. The first was to the people who ended with Hero. There were a lot of people saying, you can't end it there.
I know. I was one of them.
and so I had to give them a reason to get back into it.
Yeah.
And I also really wanted to explore the relationship of Jarlaxle and Zactophain, because that's going to resonate now in the modern day realms.
Yeah.
What happened back then matters again, for a very obvious reason. Without ruining Hero, I'll say for a very obvious reason. So what I did is I wrote the book, and it's 4 parts, and parts 1 and 3 go back, and they tell the story of Jarlaxle and Zactophain,
Okay.
how they met and became friends, and then parts 2 and 4 come forward and kind of echo. You hear the echoes of the past in parts 2 and 4 as I'm telling what's happening now with all this demon invasion, if you will, of Thornhold and charging in on Bleeding Vines and the Sword Coast, basically under siege by these demons that were loosed by the necklaces the Drow were giving people. And in the second book, which I'm working on now, I'll be doing pretty much the same thing, so we can see both those stories unfolding, and I'm relating them together, because there's always that old saying how history may not repeat itself, but it sure rhymes.
Yeah.
Right, the old Mark Twain saying.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. And so, who you're going to see, the relationship you're going to see with Jarlaxle and his friend now, has the consequences, is the result of the relationship of Jarlaxle and his friend then.
Okay. Nice.
So
I did notice, and I don't know if you can speak on it, but I noticed this isn't being put out by Wizards. It's being put out by HarperCollins. Seems strange, but how did that come about? Because Wizards owns the licensing, as far as I know.
Well, Wizards of the Coast decided they weren't going to be doing books or Realms books a couple of years ago.
Okay.
They didn't really announce it, but it was out there. Everyone knew it. They weren't denying it. And I knew that, well, we knew a few things. We knew that the people still wanted to read the Dritz books.
Yeah.
Still doing really well. The backlist was still doing really well. The audiobooks are doing incredibly well. And I still wanted to write them. So with my agent, we approached Wizards and we said, look, I'd really like to keep doing this. Can we make some kind of a deal that will be beneficial to everybody involved?
Yeah.
And it's really about all I can say, except that the people at Wizards were incredible, incredibly helpful, incredibly generous about it with me and my time and my concerns. We were more than colleagues. I worked with some of these people for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, we're friends. I have a lot of friends up there. And great relationships, and they came through, and they helped me out. They helped me get this done. And the people at HarperCollins were thrilled and excited, and they're showing me with all the stuff they're doing with the marketing and the foreign rights and everything else they're doing with it. They're showing me that they really want this to bring it to a whole new level.
Nice.
Which will benefit everybody.
Yeah.
So we worked it out. It took 7 months. It took a ton of patience on everybody's part, including mine. It took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of lawyers,
Yeah.
a lot of lawyers, but not contentiously.
Yeah.
It was lawyers. We had 3 sets of lawyers, each protecting
Each other.
they needed
Yeah.
for their companies. So my lawyers, Wizards lawyers, HarperCollins lawyers, and it took patience and a lot of hard work, and we got it done.
That's amazing.
I'm psyched because I'm working with a fantastic editor over at HarperCollins, a guy named David Pomerico. I've wanted to work with him for a long time. He was trained by one of my favorite editors, Shelley Shapiro, over at Del Rey. He's a fantastic guy. Great eye. I'm really lucky. I've been lucky with editors so many times over the years, starting with Mary and Eric Severson in the early books. But now I've got Chris Morgan over at Tor for The Child of Mad God, and he gets exactly what I'm trying to do and is helping me get there. And I've got David over at HarperCollins, who's absolutely fantastic. So I've been really lucky with editors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really lucky on that front. So we got it done. Nice. And HarperCollins is publishing it, and I can't wait for it to be out there. The book is a ton of fun. The most I wanted out of this book is for somebody who'd never read Dritz but had heard about it to be able to pick up a book and go, hey, that was fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you get out of these books, is that's fun.
Nice.
And the story moves forward as well. But I'm thinking a lot of people who maybe stopped reading Dritz, 10 years ago, whatever, will go, I'll try this, and they'll be able to follow the story easily enough, and we'll just have a good time again. Maybe remember what it was like to be that teenage kid sitting at the D&D table. Yeah. That's always my goal when I write a Dritz book. So I want to bring you in time.
So it's captured that magic of before Wizards was jumping around, pretty much, because of the different versions, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the books were great. I enjoyed every one of them, but you could kind of feel that there were some things where it seemed like your hand was forced and you had to jump. Especially Spellplague, where things just seemed to jump quite a bit.
There was the Transition series and the Neverwinter series.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because there were a lot of competing forces.
Yeah.
And what I mean by competing forces, I mean that the new reality is that Wizards is pretty much a licensing house for computer games. Things like they had to get everything on the right pages for that.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to get into whether I liked 4th edition or whether I thought it was the right move or not before. The bottom line is that when you're working in a shared world, you're one person working in a world that's bigger than you. And if you don't think of it that way, you shouldn't be doing it. So, we'll see. I think we sorted everything out. It took a long time.
Yeah.
But, we're pat. Right now, it seems like with 5th edition, everybody I know who's even looked at the game has loved it. With 5th edition, with some of the computer games that they're doing, and now with the book line that, with the Dritz books continuing with me, it seems like everything's on a pretty even keel again. Yeah. It feels good. It feels comfortable again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, I was definitely one of the people like, this is it? This is the end? No, it can't be the end with Hero. So seeing the announcement of Timeless, I'm like, yes, I was excited. And then to see it was Jarlaxle and Zach Nafane, oh my gosh. That was just seemed to be the perfect place to continue.
Hero was a fitting end, though. I think it would have been a fitting end.
It was a good end. It was just the fact that it was like, there's not going to be any more stories.
Hero was supposed to come with a soundtrack, though.
Oh.
At the very last page, it was supposed to stop playing "Don't Stop Believing."
Oh, yeah. That would have been perfect.
Just go to black.
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
It's supposed to be black. I just rewatched The Sopranos, and I love that ending.
Yeah. No, that would have been a perfect way, because then Dritz goes on adventures in your mind type situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Tony Soprano gets shot in the back of the head.
Or that. Yep. Hopefully Dritz doesn't get shot in the back of the head. So there's definitely more stories of Dritz to come, because you're writing the second one. Do you ever foresee a point where you'll stop writing Dritz, or is it just you're gonna retire and it's gonna go to Gino?
No, I don't think it would go to Gino.
Okay.
I think that it could happen. I think it could happen. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, we're all getting older. Yep.
I'm old. I'm not just getting older. And I can see a time when I'll just say enough is enough. And I've got 4 grandkids now, a 5th one coming. But, if I like doing it and people want to read it, it's not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, what am I going to do? Go play cribbage? I mean, I like cribbage, but I can't play it 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I like EverQuest, but I play EverQuest while I'm writing, so who cares? I do. EverQuest is my writer's aid. Don't you know that? Yeah, I go and camp a monster, and he spawns every 20 minutes. So I have a timer set on my phone. I kill the monster, see if he gets the loot I need.
Yeah.
And I set my clock, and I go and type for 20 minutes. My alarm goes off. I come back up, and I fight the monster again. And then that's how I play.
Hey, if that's your thing, that works. I mean,
It
everyone
breaks up-
has their own thing.
It breaks up my day.
Yeah. Wow. Play EverQuest? Right. That's perfect. Man, I need to get my writing to a point where I can do that. I still have the day job. It's...
As long as I can still get the time I need. See, you don't travel as much anymore as a writer either. That's the other
I've
thing that
noticed.
was really wearing people out with the book tours. Now social media are way out if you let it.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to let it. But I go to a couple of conventions. I'm a guest of honor at San Diego Comic-Con this year and at New York Comic-Con. But that's 2 weekends.
Yeah.
It used to be a book tour would be 2 weeks, and you'd be on a plane every day. I just can't do that anymore. I probably could if I had to, but I really don't want to.
Yeah.
Anymore. I love the book signings themselves. When I'm at the store and people are there, I'm meeting the people that read the books, and we're sharing game stories, and we're just having a good time. I love that. I love that. Gamers. But the getting there, the plane ride, the hotel rooms, the away from my family, that gets old fast. But you don't have to do that anymore. They don't want you to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing a signing today. It's the first signing I've done since February, other than a convention. I'm going down to do a signing. It won't be today when people are hearing this, but today when we're doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's important that you get out there and do them. But for a while there, I was doing a lot, and it'll weigh you down.
Yeah. No, I
Now
remember.
I just have an online store, and people that want signed books just order them there.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember years ago, seeing you on several signing tours, and, you'd go to the page and there'd be 15, 20 stops, and, I couldn't imagine doing that. That had to be rough.
I remember once there was a friend of mine, a writer, he had a big franchise book coming out, so it was in somebody else's world.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into who it was because I don't want to embarrass him. But he was going on this huge tour, and I had just been on a similar tour, and I knew what it was going to be like for him. He was so excited. He was like dancing, and about 3 weeks into the tour, he came to Boston, so I decided to drive out and see him. He saw me, and he just wrapped me in like the biggest hug and was sobbing. Oh my God, this is terrible. They had a hard time getting him back on the plane for weeks 3 and 4.
Oh.
It is exhausting.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's exhausting, but you love it. But there's so much pressure because you're sitting there in the afternoon. Is anybody going to be there tonight? Is it going to be embarrassing? Is it going to be too crowded? Am I going to get home in time to make the flight? Am I going to do? It's just constant pressure.
Yeah.
Some people really love it. Other people, like me, get old fast doing it.
Well, I'm sure at first it's fun, but then, like you said, it gets old and...
No, actually, at first it's awful.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, because when you first start out, many times you go into the store and there's nobody there.
Okay.
And everybody at the store is embarrassed.
Yeah.
So you're embarrassed. And you got to try to make lemonade out of these lemons.
Yes.
Because nobody's there. I remember on one of my first book tour, my first flight for a book tour took me to Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, which is a college girls' town.
Okay.
Okay? A girls' college town, I should say.
All right.
And to this brand new Barnes & Noble that had just this huge Barnes & Noble. My first ever book signing that I didn't drive to or wasn't at Gen Con
Okay.
convention, which is a captive audience. You're always going to have a good signing at those places. So I go in there. It's the night that Murphy Brown had her baby
Uh,
on TV.
Yeah.
It was the television event of the decade.
yeah.
There were 3 people in the store, and they all worked there.
Oh.
Then a 4th guy came in, grilled me for an hour, and didn't buy a book. It was horrifying.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Because, you remember, as a writer, you've always got this pretender to the throne syndrome.
Yeah.
Because when you're writing a book, and you're with a book for 6 months, and then you got to go back and read it again for the editor, and then you got to go back and read it again for the copy edit. And then you get to read it one more time for typesetting.
Yep.
At some point in that process, every single writer will come to the conclusion that why would anyone ever want to read this? You know, when you're reading a book and you know everything that's about to happen, it's not as exciting.
Yeah.
So you're not in the place the reader is going through it. So every writer thinks at some point, this sucks.
Yes.
Why would anyone read this? And then you go to a book signing, and it validates that because nobody's there.
I can get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That doesn't happen to me anymore.
Well, that's good. That's
I
good.
said that, so it's going to happen today. Watch.
You know, you're right. I mean, you spent time on this book, and there are moments, more often than not, that you are like, this sucks. Why am I even doing this? No one's going to want to read this. It is validating when people are like, oh, this is great, this is amazing. It makes, kind of makes you
Sure.
feel uplifted. And, then you read reviews, and then you feel like crap. So, yeah. Or people don't show up.
It's amazing to me because Publishers Weekly absolutely trashed Child of a Mad God. And every other site, Booklist, Library Journal, loved it, starred reviews.
Yeah.
But Publishers Weekly, who usually love everything I do, trashed it.
Wow.
I've gotten the worst reviews and the best reviews on the same book.
Yeah.
And what I think is the best book, one of the best books I've ever written. It would certainly be in the top 5. If I had to pick my 5 favorite books, this one would be in every list I would ever make, no matter what mood I was in. It's a book called Mortalis.
Yeah.
It's one of my least selling books ever.
That's a great book, too.
Yeah, you can't make sense out of it.
Yeah.
And the human mind is such that if you go to Amazon and you've got, 500 reviews and a 4.8 average or something, those 1-star reviews can kill you if you don't have perspective on them.
Yeah.
Because you read 100 really great reviews and then this really terrible review, and that's the one you believe as a writer.
Yeah.
It's a sickness, I'm telling you. It took me years and years. And actually a lawyer friend, a judge friend actually, to get past it. Because I had written Vector Prime.
Yeah,
And
that's a tough one.
When Vector Prime came out, there were a group of people who chased me all over the internet giving 1-star reviews to anything I ever did.
Ouch.
They hated me because of Chewy.
Yeah.
Hated me. And I was at a New Year's Eve party. It was the Millennial New Year's Eve, 1999. I know that's not technically the Millennial, but I don't want to get into that. But 1999, I just lost my brother. I was in the worst place of my life. And a friend of mine, Charlie, came up to me and he says, what the hell's the matter with you? I said, I'm just not in a good mood. And he said, what's going on? And I was talking about it. And one of the things I was doing then is I was dwelling on the negativity that was coming back at me.
Yeah.
And I tell him about these reviews I got on this book from these people. And he started laughing. And he goes, you're telling a lawyer that people say bad things about you. Oh, poor you. And I kind of put things in perspective when he said that. And then he said to me, he said, Bobby, don't you understand that probably a third of the money they give you, if the publishers give you, they give you because you're giving people something to bitch about.
Huh.
Because for a lot of people, that's entertainment.
That's true. I didn't think of it that way.
And it completely changed my perspective, and now I just laugh. And that was 18 years ago. He freed me.
Yeah.
He freed me just by giving me a different perspective on things.
No, that's a great one, especially since he's a lawyer, and he didn't bill you for it.
That's true. He's a judge.
Oh,
he probably
judge.
couldn't legally bill me for it.
Yeah,
Or
that works.
those lawyers.
Yes. But no, I mean that is a great perspective to have on anything. I mean, even beyond writing. I know a lot of artists, they'll paint something or draw something, and they're super critical because of small mistake. But that mistake or imperfection is actually what makes it valuable in most cases. So,
I once had a chance to rewrite when Echoes of the Fourth Magic is the first book I ever wrote.
Yeah.
And I was. How old was I when I wrote that? 23, 24 when I wrote that. I had very little formal training. I had very little writing experience, but I wrote the book.
Yeah.
It was based on a short story I had done in high school. And the book got published after Crystal Shard because now I'm a writer and I'm on the bestseller lists here and there, and somebody wanted the book and took it. And I remember when the book went out of print, I got it back, and Del Rey bought it because they were doing Demon Wars.
Yeah.
They said they would do that one, and they bought the sequel that I had done, and they wanted me to do the third book and finish the trilogy. So they bought Echoes, and they bought The Witch's Daughter, and I finished it with Bastion of Darkness. And they said, do you want to rewrite Echoes? You know, you wrote this book at the time, it was like 15 or 13 years ago. The world is a very different place. The genre is very different now. Would you like to rewrite it? And I went back and looked at it, and there were places where I groaned out loud because you grow as a person, you grow as a writer. But I didn't rewrite it. And the reason I didn't rewrite it was because a book, to me, is a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
And yes, there are things that were in the Echoes of the Fourth Magic book that I would never have written about in the mid-'90s and certainly wouldn't write about now. It takes place in the Bermuda Triangle. Who the hell talked about the Bermuda Triangle anymore?
Yeah.
But at the time I wrote it, there was this show called In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. And they talked about the Bermuda Triangle.
Nice.
And there were books all over the place about the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, I remember it growing up as a kid.
Could I rewrite the book? Yeah. Is that fair? No, because even fiction novels, whether they sell 50 copies or 5 million copies, are a snapshot in time of the culture of the time.
Yeah.
So it's not fair. It's not fair to somebody who wants to look at the evolution of a writer to change your early work to match up with your later work.
Yeah.
It's not fair to people who want to see what the world was like when the book was written, to change it to the sensibilities of now. I mean, if I went back and rewrote The Crystal Shard, there would be many more women in it. They would be much more prominent. There would be much more intricate, intimate, and important discussions of race in it.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't then represent 1987.
Yeah.
Or where I was in 1987. So I think that's cheating. So I don't do it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Hollywood doesn't agree with you on that. That's why we're getting reboots of MacGyver and Magnum P.I. and stuff like that. Which
you're getting reboots because they're cheap.
Well, I know they're cheap and they're easy, but I have to agree that Snapshot, Magnum P.I. with Tom Selleck is classic, and now the new one we're getting, I don't know. I
haven't seen it. I saw the new Hawaii 5-0.
Yeah.
And I watched it a few times and said, Diane, Hawaii is my favorite place in the world.
Yeah.
I said, Diane, we're never going back to Hawaii. Too many people die there. The body count in that show is off the charts.
Yeah, and it's a small island.
The detectives routinely would run out in the middle of a busy street and just open up on cars driving away, and bullets flying everywhere. And then there was one we just ziplined in Maui last time we were there, and there was one where somebody had sabotaged the zip line to kill someone. That's it. I'm not ziplining in Maui anymore. This place, I'm back to Hawaii. This place is really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about New York. I mean, almost every cop drama is in New York, and it's yeah. But anyway, all right. Well, I know you got to get going, but so Timeless comes out in September on September 2nd, if I remember the date correctly.
I think they changed it. I think it was supposed to be later in the month, but they moved it forward to the first week in September. It's coming. It's coming fast.
Yeah. And then Child of Mad God is already out there, so people can pick up a copy now. It's an audio, ebook, and physical copy.
Yeah, and I tell you, if you've ever been curious about my Demon Wars series, Child of Mad God that would also be in my top 5 favorite books.
Nice.
I think my top 5 favorite books will be, at this point, and I haven't made a judgment on Timeless yet. I want to see if I did everything I think I did in it, then that will go there. But not in any order. But The Highwayman, Child of a Mad God, Mortalis, Homeland, and The Companions.
Nice.
I think might be and I might change one of those and add in Hero, which was the last Dritz book of the Legend of Dritz series. Yeah. Child of a Mad God if you like my stuff, you should like that book. I feel like I nailed it on that one.
No, I've enjoyed it so far. I've been listening to the audiobook. It's been great.
Yeah, Tim's fantastic.
Yeah.
Tim Garagos, the reader. He's fantastic.
It's definitely not Victor.
He did the Highwayman as well.
Yeah. I mean,
In fact, he did all 7 of the Demon Wars books as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not Victor, but he is doing a great job. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Victor's pretty cool with dreads, though.
Yeah.
I like Victor dreads.
Yeah.
So Timeless coming out, and then the next thing after that will be the sequel to Child of a Mad God. I'd tell you the title, but we're still arguing about it.
That's okay.
But it'll be the sequel to Child of a Mad God will be out probably January, February next year.
Nice.
And then the sequel to Timeless will be out in the fall of next year.
So,
And
2 books
that's
a
what
year.
I'm working on now. And then if I can make a quick plug,
sure.
anybody that ever wants signed books, autographed, personally autographed, so to Joe, happy birthday, whatever. Check out rasalvastore.com, which is my bad dad joke name for my wife's online store. We have a lot of out of print copies and older books as well. So there's that, since I'm not going on book tours anymore, or not that often anymore. And so onward and upward. And again, San Diego Comic-Con in July, I'll be there, and I'll be in New York I think it's October for New York Comic-Con.
Yeah, I'll be in San Diego for Comic-Con as well. So that'll be fun.
I
Now,
haven't been in a few years. I'm prepared to be overwhelmed again.
I'm sure it's crazy. Now,
I got a handler this time because I'm a guest of honor. So I have a handler and I have my own spotlight panel, and it should be a lot of fun. Harper Voyager is going to be there, of course, because it's for Timeless. And they're going to be giving away the ARCs for Timeless, the advanced reading copies.
nice. That's
Yeah.
great. Very nice. Now, question, because of the store, do you still have like the Battlehammer hats and baseball jerseys, or are those all gone?
We got new ones. We got new
ones.
uniforms this
Nice.
year, and the hats we may have. They have but I changed it to the foaming mug on the hat.
Nice.
It's got the foaming mug shield
Yeah.
hat, and it's the ones my team is using Baltimore Orioles colors this year.
Okay.
It's funny because I knew whatever team I used would suck. It's just the luck of me. Even though we're undefeated, we're 10-0 and kicking butt.
Yeah.
I thought the Orioles were actually going to be a threat this year, so I said let's use their colors so they'll suck, and they suck. But what's going to kill me is I don't look good in pinstripes, and that's going to have to be next as a Red Sox fan.
Yeah.
But no, so we're going to have the hats. The shirts are hard. It's hard to do shirts unless you're printing them yourself because you have to decide what sizes you want.
Oh, that's true.
So if you have to buy like 6 different size shirts, and then people want to buy them, but you don't have their size, or you run out of one, but you've got 10 of this other one left.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to sell. So that's why most people do it through like the print to order places like Cafe Press or whatever. And they do all the Dritz pirate shirts. And yes, 99% of the Dritz shirts you see are pirated. They're not licensed. They're people making a buck without paying the people they're supposed to be paying. But whatever. If Hasbro wanted more of them, they'd do them themselves. I don't really get into that.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I'm not getting into that debate. But Clan Battlehammer, I got permission to do that stuff. So for my team, and got permission to sell them small, store. So.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So everyone, go out, pick up a copy of Child of a Mad God. If you haven't read any of Bob's other stuff, go ahead and pick up Homeland. That's a great place to start with the Dark Hill series, and a fantastic book. Go to RA Salvatore, and you can pick up a copy that's signed. That's even better than just going to your local Barnes & Noble. So
Barnes & Noble's good, too.
They are, but you don't get it
Independent
personalized.
books are always good, too. One of my first book signings every year, because I live in California for half the year now,
Yeah.
is Mysterious Galaxy in San Diego.
Oh, I love that store.
I love that store. And actually I have a Barnes & Noble in Manhattan Beach right next to where I live, and they're fantastic as well. So any bookstores, friends with me, and if you can't afford a book, use your library. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
You know,
All right.
for years, I sat on the board of trustees of my local library, and it was incredibly fulfilling.
Nice. All right.
There you go.
Well, there you go, guys. So I'm going to let you go because I know you got to get going and you have that signing later. So everyone, RA Salvatore, go check out one of his books if you haven't already. And with that said, we'll catch you next time.
Take care.
You're listening to Dungeon Crawlers Radio. Please subscribe and follow them on Facebook or Twitter, precious. No, we're even promoting these filthy idiots. Who doesn't like them? Who doesn't like anyone? No, they're our friends, precious, our friends. No, shut up. Please subscribe.